All right, so we're
All
good to
right, so
go.
good to go.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Issues with Jide. Here we're talking about issues and actions and inactions of those who shape our political and national landscape and how these impact us positively or otherwise. I am Theophilus Elama, standing in for Ibrahim Shita, who is currently in the United Kingdom. Now, today on the show, we put a spotlight on the protests with more than 800 arrested as Emir Sanusi condemns rampant looting. Now, in the course of the program, we will take your questions, but first, subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop a comment in the section. Of course, you can drop your questions there too. Now, it's important to mention that we can only read comments and questions with human names and ones based on the subject matter. I have joining me via Zoom is the maestro himself, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju. Of course, he is joining me via Zoom this evening. Good to see you, BK.
BK.
Good to see you.
All right, so let's
All right,
quickly
so let's
move to the
quickly
issue
move to the
of
issue
discussion.
of
We're talking
discussion.
about
We're talking about
the more than 800 that were arrested in
800 that were
Kano
arrested.
State as Emir Sanusi condemns rampant looting. What's your take on all of this?
I I support the idea of our people protesting against high cost of living, protesting against biting economic hardship. I support any idea that will get government to be more empathetic about the plight of our people. I support the rights of our people to speak to the government through the vehicle of protests, civil disobedience, and other methods of getting their message across to government in these difficult times. I've said before that popular the most popular English word in Nigeria today is hardship. And that has to do with some of the policies that the Tinubu administration came up with, especially the flotation of our currency. There is nowhere in the world where you float currency that it doesn't spark inflation. Nowhere. Egypt floated its currency, it has led to inflation. Ethiopia recently floated its currency. With the currency devalued as a consequence of that, it has led to biting, excruciating inflationary trend. The government is scrambling now to deal with the problem of inflation. That is talking about Ethiopia. For an import dependent country, when you come up with this kind of policy, you should expect that the people will suffer. You should expect that goods and services will cost a lot more, pharmaceuticals will cost a lot more, and it will naturally have a ripple effect on the economy of the country. So everything would then be affected. For example, school fees have gone up. That is in response to rampant inflation. So we know why our people are having to pay a lot more for food. We know why. And when the people respond in anger, it's difficult to blame them. It's difficult to say, oh, they shouldn't have responded, they shouldn't have protested. But protests ought to be done in a way that does not endanger national security, that does not endanger our people, innocent people. If you insist, as the faceless organizers of the protest insisted, on parading the street, who do not necessarily share the fine ideals of those who wanted to demonstrate. They have their own plans. When you then start parading the streets in the name of demonstration, they are going to join you. Their own goals are different. Their goals have to do with looting and destruction of public property, public and private property. Now, if you are a responsible organizer of protest, you must know that in the exercise of your rights, there are responsibilities that you must meet. You must be able to control the people that you are leading in a protest. But the organizers of these protests have chosen not to let people know them. Perhaps so that if things go wrong, they are not then held responsible. Only a few of them have been seen. Only a few of them. Then we had the protests. Before the protests, the courts ruled that in places like Abuja, Kwara, Ogun State, Lagos, that the protest should be held in specific places. And the protests were time-bound. They had to disclose the names of their organizers. They had to disclose the routes that they will pass through and all that. These people were not prepared to obey the order of the court. And I want to believe that the order of the court was to ensure that what we saw 2 days ago did not happen. When you have a protest in which people are marching through the streets, some of them are eyeing shops where food items are sold. They are eyeing superstores that they can loot. We want that the protests, in the manner in which the faceless organizers conceived it, breed anarchy, will lead to destruction of the government property, will lead to wanton looting of private people's property. That is exactly what has happened, especially in the northwest of our country. What happened in Kano is such a massive shame. They even looted a mosque and left the Quran shredded. Maybe they stepped on it or something. The video is there. When you loot and you pack the rugs inside the mosque, you are already showing to the world that you are demented. And a lot of the people, like the governor of Borno said, more than 95% of the protesters in Borno State were kids. How do you give a 6-year-old boy a placard to carry? What does a 6-year-old boy know about protests and the ramifications and implications of it? So young people were looting, and in Kano, more than 400 people have already been arrested. Some of what they stole have been recovered from them. How do you go to the secretariat in the state, the Kano State Secretariat, loot it, took away fans, and other things, and you went to the High Court premises, also in Kano, vandalized it, and took away guns, monies kept in the store, having been seized from kidnappers and kept as evidence. They took away valuable case files from the Kano High Court. In Katsina State, they went rampant. They even went to the home of the former president, intent on attacking it, but they were repelled by soldiers on guard duty. They wanted to break into the premises of the government house in Kano. Thankfully, they were repelled. Otherwise, they would have looted the government house completely. For protests to make meaning, they must not be punctuated and characterized by looting, because it defeats the purpose. If, as citizens, we are not happy that our leaders are stealing from us, that we have people in the National Assembly who are stealing from us through their extortionate wages and allowances, why are we stealing? That means we probably will be worse than the politicians that we complain about. Why are we stealing? I believe that the entire story about this protest has not been heard. How come in the Southeast, for example, we didn't have protests? How come in at least 3 out of the Southwest states we didn't have protests? How come in at least 2 of the North Central states we didn't have protests? How come in Adamawa the number of pro-government protesters was far higher than the people who came out to protest against the hardship in the land? Why didn't we see in Zamfara State the kind of protest that we saw in Kano? Why is it that in Kano today, people were carrying Russian flags? What is the intention of the people who distributed Russian flags to these individuals? How come some people were saying that Mulki Soja Mukeso, which in Hausa means, translated from Hausa means it is military rule that we want? How did we get to this point? So you will see that the agenda of people who got involved in the protests were kind of disparate in nature. There were those who got into it hoping to push the narrative that there should be a regime change. There are those who got into it hoping to see how they can get government to be more empathetic and come up with policies that make life more meaningful for our people, rather than policies that starve our people to death. There are those who got into it with the intention of pushing an agenda, which is military rule. I believe that there were also people who got into it out of deep-seated hatred for the government of the day and would be happy to see anything that embarrasses the government or probably brings it down. So the goals of those who got involved in the protests were different. There were those who did not even understand why they were protesting. And there were those who entered the protest with the sole aim of using it to steal. I saw someone who carried a bag of cement. What are you going to do with it? It's not Gary, for God's sake. Maybe the goal is simply to find a buyer, and we could be ready to sell it for just 2,000 naira just to make some money. I listened to the governor of Borno State say that this protest has shown that the Almajiri system, but there's a need to do something about the Almajiri system. He was convinced that most of the people who took part in that protest, or the looting and burning in Borno State, were actually Almajiris. Why, for example, was the Red Cross vehicle attacked and set ablaze in Yobe State? Is Red Cross the cause of the problem in our country? These are people who respond to emergency situations. Why were they attacked? Why were the organizers not prepared to stay in a location and make their voices heard? Why were they bent on parading the streets? And as I've said before, Section 45, 46, and 47 relates to limitation of rights. As you have your right to protest, other people have their right to not protest. You can swing your arm. It's your right to swing your arm. But you have no right to punch me in the process. And where in the exercise of people's rights, national security gets endangered, government has the right to take that right away. That is why you saw curfew being imposed. Ordinarily, curfew infringes on the fundamental rights of man to move around. Freedom, it infringes on freedom of movement when you are told stay in your house. So these rights are not by nature absolute. So people can't keep saying, no, it is our right to protest. It is our right. Yes, you have the right to protest, but you have to be civil. You have to be responsible in the exercise of those rights. You have no right to block roads.
All right, BKO.
Yeah.
So, in all of this, we're seeing a lot of comments on social media on our YouTube page as well. I would like to take some. Okay. Nelson says we discussed the food, house rent, and taxes by 60%. All other matters can be solved in the coming weeks. This hardship is becoming more stop the stiffer. Okay. Promise Emmanuel was saying he believes the network was very bad. Okay. Raymond Osas is saying, Mr. Jide, you are right. And of course, a whole lot of comments here. But I would like to ask a question about the president is going to address the people tomorrow. What should we expect from the president tomorrow? What do you think we should expect?
I don't think that is going to significantly alter his economic policies. He's most likely going to appeal for patience. And that is what a lot of his minders are already saying, that look, this president needs time. He's just about 14 months or so in office, if I'm accurate. He's going to ask for more time. He's going to promise to do some things to ease the pains on our people. But I don't think we'll see a reversal of the removal of subsidy. I don't think we are going to see that because I don't see us going back to the pre-subsidy era, no matter the situation. I would expect that the government would take steps to strengthen the naira. No, because the weakness of our currency is causing all kinds of problems. And the management of our currency has not been good enough. Yes, I will praise the government for clearing the backlog of uh, FX contracts. All those companies that are being owed foreign exchange, banks that are being owed foreign exchange, this government came and cleared them completely. It is credit to the government because it will now make many entities feel comfortable to do business with Nigeria because their currencies are not being trapped anymore. But the people have really suffered as a result of those policies. So steps have to be taken to ease the pain on our people. Anything short of that, Nigerians will not accept. And it's a good thing that the government has said is going to bring in food, import food on a massive scale, and is going to remove duty on food, on pharmaceuticals. These are steps that they should have taken a long time ago. We just hope that those steps will now be taken, the decision will be implemented, and within a short time, we shall begin to see prices come down. There has to be mechanism to clamp down on middlemen who are driving up prices deliberately. We've seen that done in Senegal. We are seeing it now being done in Ethiopia. We can't simply leave people to be doing what they like. Government has to find a way to reduce the pains that our people are going through by reining in arbitrary price increases. Government must be prepared to do that. I know that the president will promise some measures in his speech tomorrow, but I have no idea what he wants to talk about. But I know that it's going to be asking for more time. It's going to be asking for patience. I can bet that it's going to be asking for patience. It's going to say that he's not an unfeeling leader, as some people already call him, So, but he must follow up his promises with action. The prices of food must come down. They must come down. Otherwise, no matter what the president says, it will never be taken seriously. I used to say it then, when prices of food were going up under Buhari. I said, if the president likes, let him build houses for people in the sky. At the end of the day, they will not talk about the infrastructure. They will say he failed as a leader because people are starving. Because this starvation didn't start today. The decline of our currency didn't start today. Buhari inherited our currency at less than 200 naira to the dollar, but he left it at more than 700 to the dollar, even without flotation. So that wasn't good handling of our currency. And people do not remember the second Niger bridge that Buhari built that was abandoned for years. People do not remember the Abuja Kaduna Kano road that he did his best to construct or reconstruct. And so many other things, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, they will not remember. It is hunger that they will keep talking about. That is why hunger has to be addressed. This president will face the same fate. Nobody will talk about the student loan. As long as there's hunger in the land, it is that hunger that they'll keep talking about. Nigerians see progress only in terms of the prices of food in the country. That's the only way by which Nigerians see progress. Only a few discerning Nigerians point at concrete things that have been done. As long as there's hunger in the land, as long as food prices are going up, that is the only thing that Nigerians will be talking about. So Mr. President must realize that he cannot change that. Many Nigerians measure progress in terms of food, availability of food. Nothing else. You see them when you start an argument, they will say, will you put food on my table? But it is silliness to reduce every discussion to food. It's silliness in the real sense of the word. But that's the way we are. No individual can change that. So the president has to address, first and foremost, these rising food prices. That is what has made him popular. He has to address it. Otherwise, his administration will be remembered for that. His administration will be signposted for that. They won't think of the lofty things that he has done. No. That's my submission, Theophilus.
All right, as always, you are, that's why we call you the maestro, because your thoughts are always interesting to listen to. We do hope the comment section here is quite positive, and everybody wants to hear the president. They are saying that that will be the best thing that will happen, and that might be a sort of reassuring speech the president might give to many of the comment section, saying such things as that. Thank you very much, the maestro himself, Kolade-Otitoju, for always talking to us and bringing your thoughts to bear on issues that affect the country. Thank you very much. And of course, that's our show today.
Thank you, Theophilus.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you to our audience for keeping our company.
We need to make Ibrahim your middle name.
Well, we can look at that. Maybe that's one issue that will come on your stable as well. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Nigerians, for watching. You can view the program again anytime. Subscribing to our YouTube channel, TVC News Nigeria. Just click on the subscribe